pops, like yellow or red. You can go the pink if you feel masculine enough to work that out. I won't judge you. I actually love a pink tie, but you know, for a job interview, you might want to leave the pink tie at home. Orange. You're on campus, surely you can find a bright orange tie here. So these are the colors, even purple. Those are some of those bright, eye-popping colors that you want to look for in your accent pieces. Now, please don't show up in a purple suit. I did see that happen one time. I don't know how that boy got the job. But anyway, the person that interviewed him was highly entertained. So if you can pull off a purple suit, cool. But it's better for a job interview to kind of keep it neutral. Now look at here, gentlemen. There are ways to wear a suit, and there are ways not to wear a suit. So slouchy butt, probably not, okay? Jacket, you guys see what we're looking for, right? So the ones in color, this is how we want our suit to fit. Now I'm just going to throw this out there. How many of you have a budget that doesn't really allow you to just go buy a custom fitted suit? Be honest. You can all go buy a custom fitted suit. All right, I'm going to tell you what. I am the queen of thrift store shopping. I don't pay for anything. I don't have to. So when I'm shopping, I'm going to go to the local thrift store, because if you can get something for $5, $6, $10, and maybe have just minor alterations, your entire investment in that garment, that dress, that jacket, if you're a female, maybe 15, 20 bucks. I think that's a lot, but you know, it's all relative. Gentlemen, a good suit is going to start probably at about $400, and it's going to go up from there. That's a lot. Don't worry about that. We have done very well right here in the Clemson, Seneca area. And I'm just going to tattle on you. So Bob's suit that he's wearing here, we actually got at a thrift store for $10. It's expensive, right? It did require minor alterations. I think the total investment in the alterations was $12. So how many of you think if you could get a nice suit for 22 bucks, you're okay? Yeah. All right. So it can be done. The shirt that he's wearing, it's my favorite shirt, by the way. We actually got that when we were on vacation, and I think we paid $8. Right about $8. So it can easily be done, but you got to put a little bit of time into it. So if you're comfortable with knowing how it should fit, it pays to also find a local tailor that can help you out with these things, because sometimes there's just way too much fabric and you can't take all of that in and have it fit right. And sometimes if it's too tight, there's not enough to let out. So just take a look at this. You want it to button correctly, not too slouchy with the pants. You really don't want all that bag in the seat. And then look at the jacket. So if it's pulling here at the shoulders, gentlemen, you need to go up a size. If it's just all loose, you might want to go down a size. Also here on the sleeves, take a look. There's a good fit, too short, too long. Jacket length. Yes, so this here, I don't know what's going on there, but that almost looks like someone's wearing a coat with tails. That's really not a good fit. And then here, you want to look at how it buttons, okay, and the pitch of the sleeve. So I know these are a lot of details, but you guys are in the engineering department, so you can rock details, right? No? Do you guys need to become art majors? Come on. All right. So I love this game. So what we're showing you here, 9 items. You can get through an entire week with 9 items. And if you're sitting in the back, you can't see this. All these items are numbered. So the shirt is number 1, the second shirt number 2, the third shirt, the dark blue one, is number 3, the jacket's 4, the sweater's 5, and so on. So they're showing you Monday, you need 1 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8. That's almost like Garanimals. Okay, you know what I'm talking, okay. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, there used to be clothing lines where they actually would have these little codes, and they were called granimals, and you could put things together without having to worry too much. Anyway, we're gonna move on. So they're just showing you, if you'll take a look, so you're wearing the same pants Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the alternate pair of pants, Tuesday, Thursday. So by mixing and matching every day you go out, it looks like you're wearing something new. So when you're doing your job interviews, typically you're going to go with the jacket. Perhaps if you get a second interview, wear the same jacket, change the pants, change the shirt, and it looks like you've got a new look. Ladies, same thing. You can have very few pieces and mix and match. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about dress with finesse. There's some do's and don'ts here. This, please don't do this. Okay? So, Alan, if someone showed up looking like Mr. Don't, I mean, he's got a jewel tone tie. What you think? You going to hire him?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because he's going to have to go out and represent the company later. And
that would not be good. No, that would not be good. And this thing up here, yeah, it might be cool if you're doing a beach party, something like that. Please don't do that. Don't hang your shirt all out. All right? So you want to be neat. Whether you're going to wear the jacket or not, you want to be neat. You want to have your pants the correct length. Please polish your shoes. I know that that's a minor detail, but I always notice it. And if I notice it, I'm not the only one that's going to notice those things. So pay attention to the details. Ladies, so we've got the same color scheme. So you can go like your beachcombing and heels, or you can wear the exact same color scheme and really dress it up several notches. So, John, interview. If you've got a woman coming, you want to see something like this, or you want to see polished? Polished on the right. If you're going beach combing, yeah, then you can change your clothes. All right. If you're fresh out of school, get help. Ladies, do not do this. Okay? You're selling something, but it's probably not the job for which you're applying. If you look like you just rolled out of bed, please stay there. Okay? Because you're not going to get hired anywhere other than Walmart. And gentlemen, we've already talked about this, so. All right, so dress for the part that you want to play. If you're seeking a professional position, dress professionally. You've already heard, dress a notch or two above what you're expected to wear, okay? You want to look and feel your best when you are at these job interviews. So gentlemen, see, purple tie, isn't that nice? It pops off that dark color. So your next interview, be prepared, have the skills, but also remember to look your best, and it will make you feel more prepared. Thank you so much, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. And my true confession is I am still an engineer at heart. If left to my own devices, I would have unpolished shoes and too short pants because, well, they were on top and somewhat clean. Luckily, I married someone who can play the image consultant for me. So that's my recommendation for you. All right, let's do another interview. We have another brave soul. Tiffany, you, come on up. Give her a hand. Thanks for playing our game. And Kathy Callan. All right, take it away, Kathy.
Okay.
Oh, you need that.
Hi, Tiffany. I'm Kathy. Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
We'll get used to this. If you let's move over a little closer. Maybe can you see everything? Okay. So tell me about yourself, Tiffany.
So I am a master's student in bioengineering at Clemson University, and I am interested in pursuing a position in the medical devices field. So ever since I started college in engineering, I realized I really like working hands-on, like being creative with the work that I do, and I also absolutely love medicine. So this is the perfect mix between medicine and engineering for me, which is why this is the field I would like to pursue.
That sounds great. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in the upstate area, so I'm very familiar with the whole Clemson upstate So I just decided to continue school in the area that I'm familiar with.
Okay. What skills have you learned in the past year that would help contribute to a position?
So I think the strongest skill that I've been able to learn is critical thinking. I know it's a soft skill, but it's something I've just really learned with experience. So with my master's project, I have to, really think outside the box and get creative with the work that I do. So, in classes, you don't really experience failure with experiments. You take tests, you pass them, you continue on. So that's something I really had to grow in with the past couple of years, is learning how to you make mistakes and then learn how to overcome those mistakes next time so that it doesn't happen again. And that experience, I think, really just builds on itself to help me be a better person in that aspect with being an engineer.
Can you give us an example of what kind of mistake that might be and how you would resolve it?
Right, so for my master's project, I had built a specific device to be able to create a material I was using for my experiments. And I had designed this whole thing with my professor, picked the materials, picked how I was going to make it. And in theory, everything seemed okay, but I really didn't take into consideration the torque of my motor. So in reality, when I designed it, I realized it was bending my whole design, and that's just something I didn't really think about. But then I looked at it, and then I talked with several people who were really knowledgeable in that aspect, and I really want to make sure, I don't keep making multiple iterations. I wanted the next design to be perfect, so I go ahead and use it. So I thought it through and then decided these were certain parameters I was going to fix, and thankfully it did actually work that time. So I was able to work through that.
Would you say that you're a self-motivated person, that you can pretty much work independently, or do you prefer to work with guidance? Or
So I actually prefer to work in teams. I like being independent, though. I like having a mutual goal and then taking my part that I feel accountable for and working through that by myself. I think for me that's very I think it's very important for me to be able to do things independently, because I think I learned the best in that aspect. I really have to make sure I know it through and through instead of having someone hold my hand through a process.
I know some jobs that, you want to try to get a field that you feel is a purpose for your life and that sort of thing. How do you think this position or a position in this field would help you fulfill that?
So as I had mentioned earlier, I really am passionate about medicine and healthcare industry, but at the same time, engineering is absolutely what I want to do, unquestionably. So having that overlap between the two, getting to be hands-on with building things that doctors and clinicians can use in the field is extremely rewarding to me, and I honestly couldn't think of myself doing any other career.
Can you tell us why we should hire you?
So I think I'm an excellent candidate because I think I'm very multidisciplinary. I actually did my undergraduate in a biomaterials concentration, but I switched to bioelectrical for my graduate program, even though electrical aspects kind of made me nervous. I didn't really understand them, but that was exactly why I felt like I had to pursue that, be able to overcome that and expand my horizon. I also have done research in several other departments at Clemson as undergrad, just because I feel like it is very important to be able to, again, expand my knowledge and not just focus specifically on something, but to have a skill of a wide range.
Okay. If you could ask one question of the people who you admire most, what would that be?
That's an excellent question.
Some people that's maybe helped you along your way and you just think highly of.
I would honestly kind of bounce back that question you asked me of how they got themselves to that field, that passion, because when they work that way, you can just easily see that is what they want to do, and just being able to ask them how they got to that point in their life where that's where they decided was the trajectory they wanted to take, I think is a question I definitely want to ask them.
And what would you consider to be your greatest strength?
My greatest strength? So I touched on it earlier, but I really do think my greatest strength is teamwork. I know some people, I've even had some bad experiences, in undergraduate, but I really do think it's super important to be able to put different, diverse minds together to brainstorm and really come out with the best solution.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you so much.
Good job.
Thank you both. Excellent job. All right, let's start from the other direction this time. Alan? Here you go.
Thank you, sir. Tiffany, I really like the way that you use your hand gestures. Sometimes you kind of caught them together to, I guess, control what you were doing. But what I really liked is when you were trying to enumerate and you were naming. And that gave me the impression that you were ordering your thoughts. So I like that. I also thought that you sometimes laughed when you were a little bit lost in thought. I wasn't sure what that was about. It's like, okay, what do I do now? So instead of saying a so or an you chuckled, which was fine. You were somewhat fast-paced. You had some word drop-off, and you had quite a number of so's, but as you practice, you will get over that. And as Bob Swarner said, you listen to yourself, then you will understand that, wow, I'm saying lots of so's and ahs. But as you listen to people on TV, on radio, people in high political office, they do the same thing. You just don't want to do what they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. You ready?
Not really.
Okay, John.
Before I start, Mr. Timer, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Do not start the clock yet. Do not start the clock. This is for you. When you hold those cards up, hold them up until we see them. Just hang it. It doesn't matter. Just hang on to it. And then when you see my eye catch it, because I'm not saying you do that. Now, this is all for Tiffany. How are you? You're smiling. That's good. Very soft voice, but great intonation. So that's a hard thing to pull off. Your voice was moving around beautifully, but it was very soft, and you're soft-spoken. You need to throw your voice out a little bit more. Good eye contact when you spoke. You kept throwing your eyes down and away, off. Don't stare the person down, but don't be afraid to maintain some eye contact. I know you were thinking, and that helps you think. I would avoid that when you can. You seemed a bit nervous at first, but I saw you gain confidence. And the more confidence you gained, the better the answers were, the faster you got. Oh my gosh, you were on a race in some of your answers. So just don't speak slowly, but just slow it down a little bit, and it gives you time to think as well. You speak so fast, you'll outthink yourself. My mother-in-law is the most beautiful woman on the face of the earth. She speaks so fast. Watch your ums and so's. Got it, sir. You're awesome. You are my hero. It's okay to pause. So the ums and so's, I'm trying to avoid it now. Silence, I think I've told you, silence is your best friend. It's not a bad thing. Not deadly long silence, but just wait a bit and think about things. Great posture. You stood there well, but your hands stayed down low until you got them going. As soon as you were speaking, hands were great. You can put them at your side. You're not at a funeral. It's okay. You were very serious. Thank you, sir. So don't be afraid to smile. You smiled at the end. It was a great smile. I assume it was a nice firm handshake, but you can smile during the interview. It's okay. It makes people feel like they're connecting with you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Gary.
Yes, you did good. You were great. I think as far as having a control of the topics that you wanted to discuss, like everyone else, slow it down. That shows a little more confidence. One thing that I tended to notice is when you would get to the end of a sentence, your pitch would go up, more like it was becoming a question rather than a statement. Just even before the green.
Thank you, Gary. David.
Great. Thank you, Tiffany. I thought the best part of your interview was how very confidently you communicated your passion for what you're looking to do. And I don't even know what you're talking about, but it really came through because I'm not an engineer. I think that in a college where everybody has technical expertise, I think displaying that passion is very important because the technical expertise, that's easy. Bob had the technical expertise. He couldn't communicate how to get the job, and then he learned that, and then he was good. A couple things to look at, and they're both positives and maybe slightly negative, is you look young. So someone who is, and trust me, I used to look young. There'll be a time where there's a young, skinny guy with hair holding in pictures in my office, holding my kids when they were babies. I can't figure out who that guy is. So there will be a time that you don't look young. I don't know, I think your posture seemed a little bit intimidated in the beginning. Just in an industrial type interview situation, do what you can to look a little bit stronger, and I think you'll do really, really well. Not sure if I saw a nose ring. However, I would maybe not have that in a job interview. Other than that, I felt like your communication and your passion would take you over the top in a job interview. And if your skills and grades were equal with somebody else, I believe that your passion could get you over the top and you could get the job. So, thank you.
Oh, okay. Kathy?
Tiffany, I thought you did great. I really enjoyed your enthusiasm, and your questions were so detailed, and answers were so detailed for the questions. And I just think that it sounds like you have discovered your passion, and that's going to carry you through. I think everybody saw that, and I agree. The somewhat negative thing I found would be that if you were to slow down and just really take your time and think about your answers and just enjoy what you're thinking and saying, to come across better. I would recommend that you just keep pursuing your passion and keep learning, and maybe try some job shadowing and some things that you do, that sort of thing. And I would certainly hire you.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm just going to tack on a little bit what David was talking about, confidence of when you present yourself in an interview or really in a situation, you want to appear confident. And one of the ways to do that is, of course, practice. Once you practice, you will actually feel more confident. But another skill that you need to learn is how to act more confident than you really feel. And that happens to everybody. You hear movie stars going on stage and people asking me, how do you get over stage fright? And like, I don't. They don't feel confident. They're scared to death, but they still go out there and act confident. Because they act confident, people accept them so much better. All right, let's go on. Because one of the things you need to do is prepare for the interview well before the interview. You want to research the company. To help us do that, we have Trent Keneally. He's a native Clemsonian and a 20-year veteran of information technology. He also runs a successful property management company in both Pickens and Anderson County. His favorite joke is, "What's the weather like up there?" Please welcome Trent Keneally.
Being as this is Clemson University in an academic setting, how many people in this room can read? If there's anybody who doesn't have your hand up, I really worry about our test scores. Research the company. R. It takes 3 times the amount of effort and money to onboard someone as it does to keep an existing person. But you need to decide something for yourself. You need to decide if you are a good fit for the company. How many people in this room know what a mission statement is? For those that don't have your hand up, I suggest you look for the mission statement of the company you're applying for. Why? That mission statement drives the culture, the purpose, and the exact reason why that company exists. If you do not understand the mission statement, you're not researching the company because you're not going to get hired. They're going out on a limb inviting you. But if you don't spend the time to talk to yourself, to talk to Google, to talk to some device, why should they hire you? What was the one question that everybody's asked so far? Why should I hire you? E, engage the audience. If you do not make them into stakeholders, you will not get the job. You need to find out what are the triggers, likes, and dislikes for everybody that you're going to interview with, if you can. I did an interview recently, and I did the research, and I found out that the guy who was interviewing me was also the CEO of the company. He didn't say he was the CEO, but because I did the research, I found out that he was. This had impacts on lots of things, not the least of which, it impacted his ability to make me a job offer. He was the CEO of the company. He had relevance for the position. He had relevance for the mission statement. He had relevance for everything we're talking about. So if you look at this, they're all tying together. Every piece. Act appropriately. When my daughter started at Anderson University, the first thing that the dean said was professionalism matters. I'm going to say that again. Professionalism matters. The one common theme you had in every slide that Dana had was professionalism. It was being appropriate for the subject. I had a friend of mine that got very mad because he wasn't allowed to go on site to a Christian school. He had tattoos all the way up and down his neck. There was no way he could act appropriately according to the mission statement of the organization. Professionalism matters. Dana hit on this a lot. Dress to impress. You do not dress for the job you have, you dress for the job you want to have. How many of our presenters today are wearing a coat or an appropriate piece of business attire? Every single one. Why? Because it's appropriate. Because they're dressing to make sure that you understand that professionalism matters. If you cannot understand the mission statement, if you cannot actually engage them, a good part of engagement is also listening. Every question that they're going to ask you has something to do. I was recently asked a question about the Excel pipeline. I was working with a power company in Montana. The Excel pipeline is directly a result of their economy working. Now, if I was not listening to the person make the statement, I could have said, oh, I did master's work at Clemson in Parks Rec Tourism. I'm an eco-terrorist. Don't you want to hire me? What would the answer have been? No, because since I followed this method, I knew what was important to the company. I knew that as a power company in Montana, natural resources are part of the economy, not something that's going to kill a small bird. It didn't matter what my own personal feelings were, but it did matter in the context of this. So I acted appropriately. I addressed it according to the company. And I read the mission statement for the company I was applying for. So, I'm going to ask everybody again, how many of you know how to read? If you don't read before you go to the job interview, you will not be writing an acceptance letter, fellow Toastmasters.
Thank you, Trent. I think once he stood up, then you understood what's the weather like up there a bit. All right. We got one more brave soul that's going to help us do a sample interview. Rohit Sawant, come on up. And to help us with this interview, Mr. John Papps. Doctor. Hey, John.
Thank you. Trent and I are the short ones around here. We did not have time to check ahead of time. I have no clue what you're majoring in. But I'm going to ask you a question. Are you ready? Pleasure to have you here. Good to have you, Rohit. Tell me about yourself.
So I'm an industrial engineering graduate student. I'm currently a first year student. I did my bachelor's in mechanical engineering in India, and I had an experience of about an year and a half in India. I worked there in several companies like an Atlas Copco India Limited as well as in Mercedes-Benz. After my work experience, I felt that I had to pursue more, or I had to gain something more in this area. So I decided to quit my job and then look for the master's in USA.
Very good, very good. Tell me what your greatest strength is.
So my greatest strength is I can work well under the pressure. There are numerous situations in my previous company where I've worked well under the pressure. I would like to share one experience with you.
Please.
Sir, in Atlas Copco is actually a compressor manufacturing company. So daily they manufacture about 18 to 20 compressors. So if on the manufacturing line, if there is any part shortage, then the whole line gets halted. So there was one scenario in which due to one simple shortage of the part, the whole line got shorted, and it was a major impact for the company. So everyone was scared. So even my manager was pressurizing me to get that part. So I maintained my coolness, and I just called to the after sales team and just get that part right within the time. So if I hadn't gone wrong in that case, then it would have been the major loss for the company for the whole day. So this is how I maintain with the situation.
Very good, very good. What's your greatest weakness?
So my greatest weakness is that actually I'm sometimes too much punctual, or I can say, yeah. But I just want to be on time. I mean, in my previous company, if some particular person didn't respond to me, then I usually get angry on that person because I wanted things to happen on time. So I mean, sometimes it affects the relationship with other employers or other colleagues. So I just want to overcome that, my weakness. It is not actually a weakness, but I mean, it's just a thing that has to overcome things.
Playing a strength into a weakness. This will upset Dana. What's your favorite hobby?
Sir, I like reading. I love reading. I read a lot of books. My favorite author is the President of the India, who has wrote the book regarding his achievements that he has gone through. It was regarding how he developed the country from the base to the highest position. So I like reading a lot, and I read novels. Also, as main thing is that I like to read the true story, the books which are based on the true stories.
Very good, very good. Tell me, how do you handle stress and pressure?
In a stress situation, I usually try to maintain my calmness because I found that if you maintain your calmness, you come up with the solutions. So in a stress situation, I usually consult with colleagues if I have any problems, or I come up with my solutions by maintaining my calmness.
Very good, very good. Describe a difficult work situation or project and how you overcame it.
Sir, there was a project in my bachelor's which I did in the research in the military research development facility. In that project, we were trying to test some cartridge. The major failure was that it was not able to sustain the pressure because of the small kind of blast which is happening in the cartridge. So